Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Juliet. I'm an avid reader and I've been reading my first manga recently, One Piece, and I just finished reading MarineFord arc. I have been mainly reading the manga. I've watched a few episodes, but I just couldn't bring myself to continue watching the anime because I just didn't enjoy it as much. With that being said, quick disclaimer before we start this video. If you love Garp, if you like him in any way, shape, or form, do not take any insult that I direct towards him as an insult to yourself. You may like whoever you like, and my opinions are mine. I believe that these shouldn't be like necessary disclaimers, but a lot of people really take it upon themselves to be offended on behalf of like fictional characters. So it's out there now. When it comes to Marineford, I don't know where to start because for the past three arcs, since Saboti to Impel Down and up to Marineford, everything was just chaos. We were losing back to back, taking L's back to back. In Saboti, we learn a lot of like lore about the One Piece world, and we meet these celestial dragons, which are like royals who they need to go. Really, I don't know why they're there. I don't know why the admirals are protecting them. I guess like they're rich, the billionaires of our world. That's their version of billionaires. But like, damn. Quickly introducing human trafficking, fishman trafficking, the mermaids, slavery, just casually. I was just shocked. The more I read One Piece, the more they start introducing these really serious, heavy topics. And I'm like, where did we start? And how did we come here? Last I checked, I was reading about a child who ate a fruit that made him stretchy, rubbery. And now we're dealing with slavery, with human trafficking, with unjust, systematic, like, oppression of governments. Like, how did we get here? And I'm just getting hooked the more I read. And I genuinely went into this thinking, this is gonna be just, mid. It was getting popular like back in September. Was it October? And I thought, like, I'm just gonna give it a try, see what this is all about. I've been captivated by One Piece. This is a binder that I created based off of just the information that I got about the One Piece world because although I'm a reader, I'm also somebody who loves mystery and loves solving these problems and lore and just I started taking notes. I filled my notebook and then I thought to myself, I need more space. I've got a lot of thoughts. And so filling this little binder and it has like little sections for different topics. Like I've got like a section dedicated to devil fruits, section dedicated to each straw hat, each event, each arc. It's getting really busy up in here. After the developments that happened in Saboti and after Kuma just disappeared all of the straw hats, in that moment in time, I thought to myself, Kuma is very suspicious as a character because when he was sent to the Straw Hats to eradicate them back in Thriller Bark, his orders were to eradicate them, to kill them all. What does he do? He accepts Zoro's challenge and then I guess thinks that Zoro's gonna die from the amount of pain that he takes from Luffy, and then leaves. He was supposed to kill all of the Straw Hats because they've been taking warlord after warlord, and it's been like becoming an issue for the government, for the world government, for the five elders. And so instead of killing them, he leaves. And then on his way out, he says, "Oh, no wonder he's your son, Dragon." Me pauses because what do you mean? Why are we bringing up Dragon all of a sudden? The head of the Revolutionary Army, who happens to be Luffy's father. And so me there, I was like, okay, this is suspicious. Why did we bring up Dragon? And then later on in Saboti, he's supposed to kill all of the Straw Hats. He doesn't kill them. His other copy, the Pacifista, tries to kill the Straw Hats and he like gets rid of it and then just sends them to different places around the planet. And before that happens, he stands between Rayleigh and Kizaru, says something really fast to Rayleigh that we didn't hear at the time. And then Rayleigh's like, why should I trust that you're the real Kuma? And then he just tells Luffy like, oh, this is the last time we meet. Fast forward to Marineford. Kuma's not there. And then Doflamingo gives us the information that, oh, this is not the Kuma that you knew because Kuma was attacking Ivankov. And Ivankov drops the sword like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you trying to kill me? We were in the Revolutionary Army together and now you're trying to kill me because you became a warlord? And then again, Kuma nothing. Doflamingo says, oh, you don't know. The last time Kuma was conscious, Kuma in there was in Saboti. And then it dawned on me, oh my god, he sacrificed himself. He became a puppet to the government. Why? Last time something similar like this happened where somebody gave themselves up to the government when they don't fully agree with them was with Robin. But that happened because Robin was scared because of the threats that the government were making upon the Straw Hats. Like, we're gonna buster call them. If you don't come with us, we're gonna buster call them. And she has this PTSD, this trauma from the buster call because she lost her entire island because of it. She's the only person left from her island because of a buster call. So Girlie was scared. She was afraid. She said, okay, I'll do your bidding. I'll make it look like I assassinated Iceberg and throw it upon the Straw Hats. Like, make them take the blame. Because she knew they can get away from that, accusation, but they cannot survive a buster call. So she turned herself in out of her love for the Straw Hats. So when it comes to Kuma, who do they have over his head? Like, he was with them, but he must have been threatened with something that he cannot sacrifice. And that's why he gave up his soul. He betrayed his friends. I'm really curious about Kuma. Regardless of that, let's talk about somebody else before I dive into the more tougher stuff. We have a few honorary mentions that I want to talk about. One of them is Crocodile. So Crocodile, they break him out of Impel Down, and he goes along with Buggy and a few more prisoners with Straw Hat Luffy and Jinbei to MarineFord. Now, when they broke him out of the prison, I thought he's just gonna ditch him. He's just gonna leave. Which he tried to do, I think, when they arrived in MarineFord. He tried to kill Whitebeard, and then Luffy prevented him from it. And then later on, Ace is about to be chopped down. He's about to be executed. Who stops the first attempt on his life? Crocodile. Why? I don't understand. This man tried to take out a whole kingdom for his own benefit. And now he's helping Straw Hat Luffy and Ace? It made no sense to me. I guess he did say oh, I'd rather be on the side that's fighting the government than let the government have anything. But there's more to it. I believe it in my heart that there's more to this. Because later on, after Ace died, and Akainu was making attempts on Luffy's life, just chasing him out of MarineFord while Jinbei was holding onto Luffy's unconscious body, he also puts himself between Akainu and Luffy and Jinbei, saying even scolding Jinbei, saying, how could you not take care of him properly? If you want to do something, do it properly. I just don't understand it. What's his motivation to talk about him? When the ship learned that Buggy was this member of Roger's crew and that he's it was so funny to me when the government talked through the snail and they said they have valuable people on that ship escaping Impel Down, Straw Hat Luffy and Buggy the Clown. And they completely ignored the fact that there's 2 ex-warlords on that ship. They value the head of Buggy now more than anything. I think his past kind of supports the future and the dreams that he has, because he does want to be one of the emperors and want to become one day the king of the pirates. And he's just so lucky. He's just so lucky, and he happens to be in these situations all the time. I just think it's funny, and I just wanted to bring it up. Let's talk about Garp. Monkey D. Garp. And the complexion of this character, because I brought it upon myself to talk about it on my TikTok account with my followers very shortly after reading a few chapters of MarineFord where he was just standing there. I had faith in him. I wasn't biased completely. I wasn't spoiled the entirety of MarineFord. I was spoiled Ace's death. I thought to myself, this man is gonna put his soul into saving his grandson. I thought to myself, he has plans, he's got something cooking up in the background where maybe he hired someone to help Ace, or I don't know, anything. But then we have the reveal that Ace is Roger's son and that Roger had asked Garp to take care of Ace for him. He said they cannot kill a kid who wasn't born. My girl's gonna give birth. You're gonna take care of that child for me. Because we've been enemies for such a long time, and we fought a lot, we understand each other more than anyone. And then Garp sort of side eyes and says nothing as pregnant women are taken from that town, from that village, and either are killed or had their babies killed. And it's just not one, two, three. Tens of women were taken because they were pregnant at that time. All of their babies were killed, and Garp did nothing about that. And then went ahead and took Ace after his mother died because the woman took him, she had him in her stomach for 20 months. I don't even know how that's possible. I'm chucking it to hockey right now because I don't understand hockey that much. But if she could use hockey to keep that baby in her, I'm sure she's a D. They did mention she was a D. And I'm guessing that Porcas de Rouge had a form of hockey. I'm not really like that informed of hockey yet. It's just being introduced to us. But I'm pretty sure she had a form of hockey that helped her keep the baby so long for her stomach. But then her body, gave up after the birth. With that being said, this man, Garp, the man who knows a lot about justice and a lot about the law, he takes Ace as a baby and puts him in the care of mountain bandits, a bunch of criminals. Under duress, mind you. He threatened Dada and said, "You have to, or else." And Dada was scared of him at the time. She said, "Okay, whatever, fine." Mind you, Ace is giving her a hard time already. He's what, like 5, 6 years old? 8? He brings Luffy and also puts Luffy in the care of Dadan under duress, again, as if Ace wasn't enough. And then dips out and leaves. Okay, deadbeat grandpa, I get it. I don't even want to bring up Dragon into this because what are we talking about? Where is he? Luffy didn't even know he had a dad when Garp mentioned seeing him. He said, "Oh, you saw your dad at lockdown, he saw you off." And I'm pretty sure that Dragon and Garp had a conversation, but that's for later. So he takes both of his grandchildren, and he sees Ace as his grandchild. I don't want to see anybody saying, "Oh, he didn't put effort into saving Ace because he's not his actual grandchild." Yes, it is. He said, "Don't call me old man, call me grandpa." I'm sure Garp loved those kids, okay? But what kind of love? So he takes his grandchildren, puts them in the care of criminals, and wants them to become good marine men. I don't know what kind of math Garp is doing, but it wasn't adding up to me as I was reading the manga. Ace grows up as this child who keeps hearing shit talked about his dad, his biological father, Roger. Oh, if Roger had an actual son, we would have skinned him alive, whatever, blah blah blah. He's hearing all of this, thinking he's worthless, thinking he's a demon spawn. It asks Garp, "Hey Garp, old man, do you think it would have been better off if I hadn't been born?" And I'm a mother. I've got 2 kids, okay? If my 5-year-old daughter came to me and said, "Mama, do you think it would be better if I wasn't born?" I would ask her, first of all, what made you think that way? Second of all, of course not. You're just a kid. If her father was a criminal, I wouldn't say to her, "Oh, well, I guess you'll have to live and see. We'll see when you grow up." Like, no. That's not what you say to a child, to an 8-year-old. You say, "Your father's path was different from yours. You get to weave your own path." But it was just such a dismissive tone that he said that in, that it's like, you're just adding to that child's pain? And what do you expect? He wants to be like you? Nobody wants to be like you. You keep beating them. He goes to his job, right? And on vacations or the days off that he takes, he comes back and beats them in the name of love. He gives them the fist of love. Even Luffy was not that happy when he saw his grandpa post any slobby. He was happy when his grandpa decided to leave. He's like, "Oh, you don't want to say goodbye to grandpa? You don't want to say I love you, grandpa?" He's like, "What? You just hit me whenever you see me." He's not this role model that he thought he was going to be to them. So I don't understand what he thought was going to happen when he put them in the care of bandits, mountain bandits. It's not like the government had such a prestige reputation in the eyes of Ace when he was a child. In the trash, the mountain trash, that he had to see the fucking fire, the deal that the royals at the time made with those mountain bandits that decided, "Oh, we're going to burn this and we're going to dip," but then they weren't able to dip. You know what I'm trying to say here? It's like Garp was never the example that he wished to be for those children, so I don't understand where he thought this was going to lead them to be Marines. Come on now. And I know somebody now is going to take upon themselves to write in the comment section, "Oh, but you don't understand. The pirates are the bad people in the story, and the Marines are actually good. Just because there's a few bad apples in the bunch doesn't mean that the whole system is corrupt." And for that, I'd like to say, are we reading the same story? Those few bad, corrupt Marines, they're the admirals, they're the people that are in charge, the 5 elders, the world government. If the people that are in charge of the government, of the system, are the rotten ones. They should be taken out, and that system needs a whole rebrand. It needs to be reevaluated. If the Marines are okay with taking orders and enforcing them, like, oh, yeah, there's a pregnant woman there. She may or may not have Roger's son in her stomach, so we might as well just take her and kill that baby. Oh, there's hundreds, there's tens of them? Well, bring them all, just in case. If you're okay with doing that, then your system is corrupt and is to be reevaluated, rewritten. I don't know, do something about it. But you can't just stay there and hope for the best, hope for things to get better. Say, well, the pirates are worse. Well, the pirates are not in charge of the government or the justice system. They're criminals. There are criminals in every government, in every world, in every country. But they're not in charge of the justice system. If the justice system is the corrupt system, it needs to be changed. It's that simple. Now, of course, changing that system is not simple. There's going to be hardship going through that. But that's for people to figure out later on. You can't just stick with the same thing and hope for things to get better. Oh, but if I leave, someone else is going to take my place that's going to be worse than me. I think that's Garp's thought process. I think that he knows how far the corruption goes in the world government, and he stays there because he thinks, well, I'm good. If I leave, someone worse than me is going to take my place, and I can't stand that, so I'll just sit. It genuinely pisses me off when people try to say, like, oh, but the pirates are worse. Okay, and I get that, and I agree that there's a lot of bad pirates out there. Maybe the good pirates are very, very minuscule compared to the rest of them around the world. But they're not in charge of the system. They're not the ones in charge of justice. The Marines are. They work for the world government to take care of the citizens. But what do? The admirals take it upon themselves to go and take care of the business of the celestial dragons whenever they feel like it. They let the celestial dragons go ahead with slavery. It chokes me out to think about Hancock, because she was a slave to the celestial dragons, and now she's a warlord. Like, what are we talking about? The whole MVP of MarineFord really was Whitebeard for me, because I didn't know him as a character, and then he just shows up in MarineFord, and Ace thinks to himself, oh my god, I cannot believe they showed up for me, and he's like, I hope you didn't do anything to my beloved son. And he already has my heart. I'm like, oh my god, that's everybody's dad. That's all of our dads right now. It's just like, it was so emotional for me. I didn't even shed a tear when Ace died, but then Whitebeard died, and I'm like, oh my god. All this man wanted was a family. He never wanted treasure, he never wanted riches, didn't want to be the king of the pirates or find the One Piece. Even though Roger offered to tell him where Raftel was, he said no. He just wanted a family, and he had the biggest one. I feel like I'm gonna cry. He wanted a family. And then asking Ace, was I a good dad? Was I a good father? It just... it's getting to me again. It was so emotional, and I didn't think that I'd get attached to a character that I didn't know before this fast and care about him dying. It's just... it was insane. It was truly insane to me. And when one of his sons, who were, like, talked before the war started to by, like, one of the Marines, stabs him, and he just hugs him and say, you're a fool, but I love you regardless, and you're still my son. Like, it was just so insane. Like, Oda just comes out with these emotional writings out of nowhere, and I'm like caught off guard with them. Yeah, but when it comes to Ace's death, I think that all of that was inevitable, sort of, for Luffy. A lot of people in my comment section in TikTok said, oh, Ace got rage baited to death. He died because of a yo daddy joke. And I don't agree with that at all. I don't think that it was rage bait that got to him. It's just that this is who he is. This is his personality. And the writing about him has been consistent, even in the cover stories. He's just this hot-headed, stubborn individual who does not take it well when people talk about those who he loves. And who he loves the most is Whitebeard and Luffy, and Whitebeard was already making this huge sacrifice, killing himself, to buy the rest of the pirates who came with him time to leave, to escape MarineFord. And Ace is like, okay, I've accepted this, I'm leaving. And then it kind of starts taunting him, talking really bad about Whitebeard, who's already dying. Like, it's just, he didn't actually turn around and attack Akainu in that moment. He just hesitated and was like, take that back, you cannot say that. And I think that it's very warranted for him. Was it stupid? Yeah, he caused a lot of deaths. You know, a lot of people died to get to him. But, like, it's also inevitable, like I said. Whitebeard was not gonna let Ace die. Ace was not gonna let, Whitebeard get trash-talked as he was dying. And so in his moment of hesitation, Akainu takes that advantage and goes for Luffy. All the while, Garp is just standing in the background like a bum, doing absolutely nothing. Oh yeah, you cried a little bit when Ace was on the platform, chained and down on his knees, saying, "I have no sympathy for pirates and criminals, but family is different." But he was just sitting there doing nothing, as Ace multiple times said, "I understand the mistakes that I did, blah blah blah, but like I still want to live." And he starts crying and sobbing. And later on, when he sees the entire crew that he loves so much pulling up for him, he says, "I've accepted my faith, but I'll take the hand that offers me help regardless." I think that is the most like clear "I want help, I need help" that he'd ever said to Garp, and Garp just disregarded that. He did nothing. And then when Luffy came up to get to Ace, he stands in his way saying, "I'm not gonna let you go back past me." And I guess people said to me, "Oh, like he lets Luffy punch him." I don't care what he let him. Like, you're just standing in the way. It just made no sense to me. Why is Garp going so hard for Ace to die? Like, he's just trying hard not to do something. I don't know if that made sense. But then later on, Ace does get executed. Like, Ace dies, right? Akainu goes for Luffy, who's on the ground. He was exhausted. Luffy, I don't even know how he made it that far to Marineford, because that kid did not even have a single meal. And I know that Luffy has something towards food. Food gives him energy, and it's more of a trope. This has been consistently shown in the manga, to the point where I'm like, okay, there's something special when it comes to Luffy and food, and it's more of like a trope or a gag. It actually nourishes him, to the point where like he was stabbed in Alabasta and food healed him. It just has been consistent writing when it comes to the food and Luffy. And so he hadn't even eaten, he was poisoned, he was supposed to rest, and he made it to Marineford, and his body just gave up on him and he fell to his knees in the manga. And so when he was on his knees, Akainu goes for him with his magma fist, and Ace puts himself between Luffy and Akainu. When I was reading that, I was genuinely confused, because I thought that because Ace had a Logia type fruit, his body would just move around the magma, right? But turns out magma is hotter than fire. And so up until that point, I thought to myself, okay, he's just gonna pull his fist back and he's gonna be fine. But he wasn't fine. There was a gaping hole in his chest. And now I understand all the donuts emojis. You guys are brutal. And so Garp was standing when this happened, right? Uselessly. And then he starts walking. And then Sengoku pushes him down to the ground, and he tells Sengoku, "Keep holding me down or I'll kill Sakazuki," which is like Akainu's other name. And to that, I say, oh my god, you should die. You should drop dead right now, Garp. That's so funny. And then after that, Akainu is just had not had enough. He just wants to get rid of the Straw Hat and his brother Ace. He says, "You guys both are from criminal bloodlines. You should be gone. You're blood brothers, blah blah blah." And he starts going after Luffy. Mind you, Luffy here sees his brother dying right before his eyes and blacks out. Like, he has such a shock that he just blacks out after screaming his lungs out. And I did watch this in the anime after reading it. When I watched the anime episode in sub, I watched the edits that my followers tagged me in, because I just wanted maximum trauma as much as possible. And so after all that happened, Luffy's unconscious and Akainu attacks him again. Now, in that frame, they show us Garp is no longer being held down by what's his face? Sengoku. He's no longer being held down. So no one's holding him back down. He doesn't have anyone to say, "Hold me back before I hold me back, just hold me back. Look, move out of my way." And Whitebeard attacks Akainu. He punches him, but then that man is just strong. He just gets up. He takes it and gets up. Like nothing happened. And then they kill Whitebeard. And it's this really emotional moment for me. I didn't cry at all when Ace died. And then Whitebeard dies. And I'm like, oh. Law shows up. He takes Luffy away. He whisks him away. Crocodile helps a little bit. Jinbei is really clutching in. Marco stepped in a little bit. The other crew saying, "Oh, that's Ace's brother. We have to step in for him." And I think that there's a moment of understanding that happened when Luffy used his Conqueror's Haki, in Marineford because Whitebeard is like, oh, okay, I see why Shanks said that. And then it just like it's a moment of everybody help Luffy get to his brother. And it was just such a like a epic moment to me. But Law for some reason shows up. Trafalgar D Law. And I know that he's a D because when he first appeared in Saboti, I wanted to put a hashtag in my TikTok video talking about that arc. And I only wrote Trafalgar and the whole name showed up and I didn't even like pay attention to it. But later on when I was checking my video, I see that it's in my search bar. You know, the videos have search bar of their own and it's like Trafalgar Water D Law or something. I'm like, whoa, he's a D. Okay. That's good to know. So Trafalgar whisks him away, Hancock helps, she takes him to Amazon Lily, and Blackbeard shows up with a new gang of his. Turns out he went to Impel Down to break out the most dangerous prisoners in there, and he made them fight to death in the prison, and then like, the winner goes with me. And then he pulls out this black rug, puts it over Whitebeard, and goes under it. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Whitebeard's fruit. And not am I bamboozled, not am I like absolutely like out of my mind reading that because I know damn well we could not have two devil fruits. So how did he get two? He's not supposed to be able to. Like I thought to myself, is it propaganda that was said in Any Slabi by CP9? Because the director of them was like, oh, your body cannot handle two. There's a devil in these that possesses you. Blah blah blah. And I'm shocked. I'm angry, I'm shocked, I'm emotional. Whitebeard just died and they steal his fruit and we can't even see how that happened. So when Blackbeard demonstrates his powers, I think to myself, there's no fruit anywhere near them. How did he gain the power, right? That's where my theories come in. Alright, this is a new segment in the video. Welcome. Please put your logic and critical thinking skills aside and hold my hand while I try to convince you of what my theory is when it comes to everything in regards of One Piece. So far, we know that in the One Piece world, you can't have two devil fruits because your body can't handle it. And although I'd like to say that this is maybe propaganda by the world government that they made so that people don't go being too ambitious to have more than one devil fruit, I'm pretty sure someone else had tried it and did not survive this, so I'm not gonna like be hung up too much on that. What I want to talk about specifically is Teach. First of all, why is he a D and evil at the same time? Every single D that I've seen so far, except for Garp, have been good people. They've been just really generally fine people. But it's something about the air of Teach that makes me genuinely scared of him. When he was first introduced, he's been with the Whitebeards for a while, for years. Ace is asking him, hey, are you okay with me becoming the second division? Because, you know, you've been here longer than I. Teach says, oh, it's fine. I don't mind. I have no such ambitions for these things. And he's just eating, eating, eating. And I find it odd that the first scenes we see of Teach with the brothers, with Ace and Luffy, are him just eating. I think something is odd about that. But then later on, the moment he like lays eyes on Thatch's fruit, it's like a demon genuinely possesses him, and the entire air about him changes. And then he later on kills him and takes his fruit. Mind you, I think that Thatch would have just given to him had he asked. But he didn't. He chose to kill him. And then you see, like, he's just a different person, right? He betrayed his crew, left, Ace is chasing after him, blah, blah, blah. We already know that shit. What I'm gonna tell you here, I need you to be open-minded about this. I've got no sources to this other than my own imagination and just a few things that I picked up from the manga. But I believe that there's multiple realms in the One Piece universe, and that Thatch is from one of those realms. The same realm that the devil fruits come from, because I wholeheartedly believe they do not come from the One Piece planet. They're not from there. That's why the sea tries to drown the people that use the power to banish it from there, because it sees it as like an outside thing, you know, an alien thing. And so I do believe there's multiple realms, or call them dimensions, whatever you want. It's places that you can access via portals that I believe happen to be on the Grand Line. I believe the Grand Line happens to be so chaotic and so messy, weather-wise, geography-wise, is because it's the passing point between these realms, and the portals that exist on it make it so chaotic that, you know, the lock poses take different amount of times in each island to set to the next direction, and they can only set to one direction at a time. I believe that my theory has basis a little bit because each island seems to be on its own timeline almost, little garden, stuck in the past. It's not evolving as fast as the other islands. Some islands we have a little bit of technology, some we don't. We just got introduced to these video snails that got introduced in Impel and then later on in Sabodi when they're watching the execution. We'd never seen screams before. When did the screams come into play? Every island seems to be on its own timeline. I believe that something is messing with the magnetic field of the planet, and that's why. They may be like a disruption of the portals. Maybe the realms are bleeding into each other. I don't know. But I do believe that the last island, this raftel, where the One Piece is, where Roger found it, there was a portal that they couldn't access because maybe a certain amount of time needed to be, reached, or a certain individual needed to be there, and that's why Shanks sacrificed his arm for Luffy because he ate the gum gum fruit. And I do, disclaimer for those who are new here, I do know that Luffy did not eat the gum gum fruit. I don't know which fruit he ate, but I'm pretty, I know it's not the gum gum fruit. I know his fruit has rubber properties because we've seen this kid stretch left and right, in all directions. But I do know it's not the gum gum fruit. So whatever his fruit is, I think that Shanks lied to Luffy about it. And it's much more important to the point where he thought, I need to get this kid to safety immediately, and sacrificed his arm for it to the sea monster. Where were we? The portals. I do think that Raftel, there's a portal, and that's like the big One Piece. And I think that the portal, to be accessed, it needs to, there's a certain criteria that somebody needs to meet. And I think that Luffy has that criteria. What else? Yeah. I think that the Straw Hats, because they keep getting called demons, they either call themselves demons or get called devils by others. Zoro calls some of his techniques the demon techniques. We got Robin, the demon of O'Hara. We have Luffy, the demon spawn. It's just there's this theme of the Straw Hats being called demons. And I think that their last enemy that they're going to beat is going to be this figure that's seen as angelic or seen as divine, and they're seen as devils when it's exactly the opposite, right? Because that's been a lot it's a reoccurring trope in a lot of novels that I read, and it just resonates with me a lot. I think the Straw Hats, after liberating the One Piece planet, are going to be like these space explorers where they're going to go liberate other planets, other dimensions, and to access them, they need these portals, and one of them happens to be in Raftel. Yeah, the One Piece, it's a theory that I keep pondering upon because I just love solving mystery. And I've done this with books that I've read before, so it's very natural for me to do it with One Piece. Yeah, the One Piece is a portal located in Raftel. And I think in order to access that, you need specific, criteria that happens to be with Luffy, specifically the Straw Hats. I rest my case here. I'm only halfway through, so there's obviously more information that I don't have access to yet that I'm eager to learn. And this may update as time goes on and I read more. But for now, where I'm right now, I think it's a portal, dude. I really do. Thatch is from one of these dimensions, these realms, where the devil fruits come from. Because the devil fruits are not from there, so the devil fruits come from there. Thatch is from there. And I think that's why it's natural for him to be able to attain to devil fruits, because from the realm that the devil fruits come from, it's normal for people to eat more than one fruit. So his body can handle it. Marco said something about the shape of his body, and I think that it's just, he's born there. He gets to have it. He gets to eat these two fruits. And I don't know if we're gonna get anything, flashbacks from where Thatch was born, but did I just say fucking Thatch? Teach. Excuse me, the names are similar. I honestly don't know. I'm very easily forgetful of things. But yeah, we have Sabo. Sabo was introduced post MarineFord. And we learned that Luffy lost two brothers, not just one. Sabo, who just wanted to be free, who was neglected by his parents. And I guess I see a lot of similarities between Sabo's parents and Garp. Because Sabo only wanted to be free, and his parents wanted him to do the things that they wanted. never cared about his own desires, about his own wants and needs, and only cared about themselves. And then they adopt this random ass child and start treating him or her better. I can't remember if it's a girl or a boy, but they start treating it better than Sabo. And it's just so odd to me because I feel like it's the same thing about Garp and Luffy, Ace, and what was his face? Kobe? He takes Kobe into his care, teaches him things, and I feel like he's gonna value Kobe more than Luffy one day, and that's just scary to me. Because what are you doing, Garp? Just because, oh, no, he's the child that I never had but always wanted, and now I get to, do the things that I want through him. So weird. Let's talk about Shanks ending the war by arriving at Marineford. A little too late, buddy. He was too late. I was jump scared when I saw him. He picks up the straw hat of Luffy and says to Buggy, hey, go give this back to Luffy. And I think the straw hat has a lot of significance, a lot of meaning. Maybe there's some black magic on it because he immediately wants it to be with Luffy, as if it, like, what, protects him or something. He immediately sends it to Luffy. And I think that he gave Luffy the straw hat after Luffy ate the gum gum fruit, his fruit, because it offers like a form of protection to it. But yeah, he gives Luffy his straw hat back and says, I'm not gonna see you to not like break our deal, because they made a deal when Luffy was very young. And so he just ends the war and everybody's okay with it. And I'm wondering to myself, if you had that much power to stop a war, why didn't you come earlier? All these deaths would have been prevented. And then Mihawk, the man who paints his sword, just runs away from the fight, saying, hey, I agreed to fight Whitebeard, not Shanks. I gotta go. I've got things to do, and fighting Shanks is not one of them. I gotta go paint my sword. And I'm familiar with this painting theory because Agenda Piece caught up to me before I even read the first volume of One Piece. So I'm familiar with Law faking his backstory, familiar with Mihawk painting his swords black, but yeah, I think that's the extent to it so far. I mean, I know Usopp is not Sniper King, blah blah blah. I hate that one. I hate it with passion, mind you. The most oddest one that I've heard is that Robin that Robin snitched on O'Hara to be the only one who knows how to read poneglyphs, and I've never been the same ever since. It's so diabolical that the only thing that I can do is just laugh. When Luffy wakes up in Amazon Lily and he's just traumatized, wondering like, where's Ace? Where's Ace? And is having his mental breakdown. I love the fact that Jinbei is still there with him, talking him down, giving him hope, reminding him that he still has his crew. And then later on, Luffy goes back to Marineford, rings the bell, sends a message to the Straw Hats. And we ended off on me really wanting to get into a new world, but being just too discouraged after all the events that happened. Like, we did not catch a single break since 3 arcs, and I'm just so drained mentally. But again, I want to read more. I want my crew to get back together so that I can pick up where I left off. A lot of people recommended me to watch Fan Letter, which is like not canon, but it's from the perspective, I guess, from other people during Marineford, but it also spoils certain arcs after that. And my followers have not been helpful with this one. People tell me to read it after Marineford. Others tell me to read it, no, after Return to Saboti. People say, don't read that then. Read it after you reach Fishman Island. No, don't read it then. Read it after Wano. And I'm like, what are these names? I'm not familiar with the names of these arcs. So I'm like, when should I read it? When was this published? I'm afraid of searching anything on Google when it comes to One Piece, because I've heard that you get things spoiled from there as well. And I've already got my fair share of spoilers. I don't want to get any more. Yeah, this has been fun. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to comment if you got something nice to say. If you got mean things to say, keep them to yourself. Please just don't. Have a good day. Until I see you again.